Americans, what's stopping you all from moving to the States with better weather? Money. Obligations. Family. Friends. Literally everything. Blizzards scare me less than hurricanes and earthquakes. When people say better weather, that generally mean warmer weather, Southern California, the South, etc. I hate warm weather. For me, autumn, winter, spring, summer. If I could live in a place that had year-round weather that resembled October in the upper Midwest, I'd do it. Edit. A letter. I'm from the Midwest and moved to California for 2 years. As someone who thinks anything below 70 is too cold, it was amazing. However, it was beyond expensive. I paid twice as much rent for half the space. Groceries. Gas. Literally everything was so much more expensive, and I was only making $1 or so more an hour than back home. I could never get ahead. My childhood dog back home died and I couldn't afford to fly back to see him one last time. Which, in turn, made me worry about something happening to my family or to myself and being totally helpless. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. All of my roommates were 10 years older than me but in the exact same place in life. I knew if I stayed I'd never be able to afford marriage or kids or a house. So I moved back home. First winter back, wish me luck. I have zero desire to live south of the Mason-Dixon line. Having 4 distinct seasons is actually a blessing. That said, the 4 distinct seasons in Chicago recently have been summer, F-king summer, winter, and F-king winter. Cost of living. I like the rain and snow. It's only shitty to other people. I grew up with it. As an upstate New Yorker, I'm just used to it by now. The average first snowfall here would make civilization literally grind to a halt a few states south. Despite all the rain here in Washington, I love it. It's home. It feels like home. And you just learn to ignore the rain. I personally love it when it rains. And I'm sure my neighbors recognize me as the shirtless in the rain man. Not to mention, there's some sort of a view everywhere you go here. Joke's on you guys. I live in Southern California. Cries but no water comes out. I moved from the Midwest to Los Angeles. I don't like it. I'm planning to move back. Weather really isn't that important. I love Massachusetts with all my heart. I love complaining about the snow. I love laughing when the streets flood and people kayak to school. And I love being on the news every single storm because my town gets absolutely destroyed by them. I'm applying to a lot of colleges outside of MA and it makes me sad to think about leaving, but I know I'll find my way back. Colorado, despite being seen as a cold snowy state, has more days of sun than any other state. The weather is beautiful. I did move to Northwest Wyoming where it's basically winter half the year. Love it. As a Canadian, I've always wondered this. There's nowhere to move in this F-king country without experiencing shitty weather. If I had American citizenship, I would be looking for work in SoCal for sure. Oregonian here. The water just tastes better here out of the tap and I like rain. Then there's the hiking, biking, skiing, camping, etc. PNW is the best place on earth mo. For 80% of people, it is family. Why be that one relative down in Florida? Better is subjective. I love the fall and winter. Honestly, I like summer least. If I moved to a city, I'd want it to be walkable. That eliminates most of the South, Southwest, and Southern California. I wouldn't want to move somewhere rural in any of those places. Northern California seems too expensive. I don't know how much better the weather in the Midwest Great Lakes will be. PAC-NW seems doable and I am sure there are some pockets or random cities that would be what I want. But I'll just deal with a few months of snow and no sun. I live in Louisiana. While I know there's probably a lot that people could say to shitty on it, I love it. I do enjoy cold weather. But I also enjoy the warm as well. I love the culture, the history, the food, the football, the hunting. It's called Sportsman's Paradise. My friends and my family live here. My family has been born and raised here for the past 200 years. I've traveled to all 50 states and 10 countries, but this is the only place I can call home. There is no bad weather. Only inadequate clothing and transportation. I already live in Arizona. To be honest, I can't handle hot weather. I will start sweating if it's 75 and just walking outside. I live in southern CA and I actually envy you folks who get the 0-degree weather and snow. Sun and heat get f***ing old after a while. Plus you all get to sport down jackets, scarves and sweaters. Chicago's food. Moved to California. Experienced California traffic. Moved back to Ohio. I'll take a bit of snow over 3 hours a day sitting in traffic with people who have yet to discover their blinkers. Weather was great though. Reading John Steinbeck. Define better weather. I get all 4 seasons and thoroughly enjoy each one. Would never dream of moving. I'm from Florida. I moved north because I love the cold and having seasons. I live in Western Washington. Doesn't really get much better. Or prettier. Spend spring and fall in Minnesota and you'll get it. Legal weed. I actually really love Washington weather. I've never been a fan of the heat and much prefer rain over droughts. I live in Texas and have all my life. Anyone who has also lived here will understand when I say that the weather in Texas is so extreme and very unpredictable. I'd move to California for the weather. But I'm terrified that as soon as I move there the San Andreas fault will do its thing and I'll die. After living in ash deserts, I'll take the f***ing Maine winter. Thanks. Speaking of which, we used to get snow like by the 20th of October. It's November now. And I've seen 2 snowflakes. Climate change used to just give me the usual impending dread feeling. Kinda like knowing your cat's gonna throw up and not knowing when. Now, it f***ing scares me to the f***ing core. What will happen when it's too hot to grow food? Where? I already live in Arizona. I've got a good pension here and I make too much money to leave. There is no perfect place. Today's drought is tomorrow's flood. Look at all these excuses. The real reason is they don't mind the shitty weather. As a Californian, the only place better is Hawaii. And the job market there is not geared towards my skill set. I've lived around the country. There is no better weather. The places where it's warm you have to worry about crazy hurricanes and unpleasantly hot humidity. Not to mention your daily rainstorm from noon to 1 PM so consistent you could set your watch by it. Then there's that whole middle swath of the country that's all tornadoes. Meth and frigid winters, not bad. On the whole. And then there's Southern California, which is probably as good as you're going to get weather-wise on the mainland. But it's ridiculously expensive and the price is only like the 5th most shitty thing about it. Also earthquakes. The search for good weather is just not an ideal or fruitful endeavor to design your life around. Almost everything should be prioritized before it. Ohio here. I don't think my quality of life would improve. There is plenty to do in my area which I don't take advantage of currently. So why would I take advantage of it in a place where I have a higher cost for quality living? I like my area. I like my friends. And I like my family. I'm not scared to move away from here. I just don't see a huge benefit to it at this point in my life. All the people who move to states with better weather. I won't know how to navigate in a state that isn't shaped like my hand. Because CA is too expensive and gentrification. A shitty house in California cost about $150k in bad areas, so that's a good reason. Source. I live in California. I'd move to California in a heartbeat if I could. But the problem is employment and money. I'd have to actually find a place to live out there. And from my understanding it can be very expensive. I would also need to find a job, which is already probably really difficult. But coupled with the fact I don't have a college education likely makes matters worse. So I'm stuck in my frozen wasteland until I either win the lottery or something else happens. The Northeast is where men are made. Went to school in AZ. People were too happy. It's supposed to be 70 here in Gar Thanksgiving. I love our weather. I don't think there is a state with better weather from my standpoint. College. Because in general, coastal living is much more expensive than living inside the United States. Jobs. Weather is honestly one of the least important factors when I consider moving. As a musician, I wonder sometimes if there's a relationship between bad winters and good arts culture. Being forced inside for months at a time leads people to write, or practice instruments, or go to plays, etc. I live in Atlanta. BTW. Great weather here. But I see myself settling in a place like Minneapolis. Family. Plus no major disasters. Plus very few venomous or poisonous critters by comparison. I can lie in the grass in the summer and walk barefoot all summer long with no worry of creepy crawlies or particularly venomous or poisonous plants and animals. I'm in Michigan. The winters can suck. But the spring, summer and fall seasons are all awesome. Because wherever I move, there I am. Very good jobs where my husband and I make a lot of money. We move to a place where no one wants to live. With no family, friends, or support system in the area. And where we only get to see our families once or twice a year due to the distance. On top of all that, the weather absolutely sucks. But we were able to buy a house before we turned 30, and I'm not talking about a starter home or townhouse. I mean a really nice house in a really nice neighborhood. Own several cars. And completely support ourselves debt free. We completely uprooted our lives for this and moved from the nice warm south where we grew up to the cold frozen north. And as a result, we went from making less than $20,000 per year combined and living in a 1-bedroom apartment to pulling in well over 6 figures. It was absolutely worth it. Can't afford to move north yet. Florida f***ing sucks. I already live in the East Bay of San Francisco, so according to a lot of everyone it's all sunshine and surfing here. I guess for me moving to a new area would require an ability to get a job. Maybe once I finish my degree I'll be another California runaway and move to the PNW or maybe Nashville. Well, better weather is very subjective. I hate the weather in Southern California. I want to be able to wear long sleeves and long pants more than 3 days a year.